Do you own a home in Canada? Then your financial future might be determined by an interest rate you signed back in 2021. The period of easy money is officially over, and experts are warning that 2026 isn't just a market correction. It's a mortgage time bomb. We're talking about forced sales, payment shock, and the highest foreclosure risk in a generation. Here's why. A massive, unprecedented wave of 5-year fixed mortgages, locked in during the low interest rate frenzy, are all scheduled for renewal in 2026. When these homeowners renew, their rates could be double or even triple their original rate. For many who bought high, this means an additional $1,000, $2,000, or even $3,000 added to their monthly bill. That sudden devastating jump in payments is financially unsustainable for millions of Canadian families, and it's what will trigger forced sales across the country. This systemic stress isn't hitting all cities equally. The highest risk is concentrated in the markets where house prices detached most severely from local incomes, where the debt-to-income ratios are already stretched past the breaking point. Today, we reveal the top 10 Canadian cities facing this foreclosure bloodbath in 2026. You need to know which cities are most exposed so you can understand the risk. We're counting down from number 10, and our first 3 cities on the watch list highlight the geographical breadth of this crisis. Let's begin the countdown. The risk starts where the house price run-up defied economic gravity the most. At number 10, Halifax, Nova Scotia. This city experienced one of the most severe price explosions outside of the major central hubs during the pandemic, driven by interprovincial migration. The problem? Local incomes simply haven't kept pace with those rapid price increases. When those pandemic-era mortgages renew, the payment shock will push a significant percentage of those newcomers and first-time buyers into financial distress, making Halifax a primary candidate for increased forced sales in the Atlantic region. Moving west to the prairies, at number 9, we find Calgary, Alberta. Calgary's risk isn't just price volatility. It's a combination of rapid population growth and high consumer debt levels. While the economy has been relatively strong, data shows that many Calgary households are using credit cards and consumer loans to bridge the gap on their high mortgage obligations. This financial balancing act collapses immediately when the mortgage payment itself spikes upon renewal, leaving the city highly vulnerable to a cascading debt crisis. Our third city, at number 8, is Winnipeg, Manitoba. Winnipeg is not traditionally seen as a high-risk market, which is precisely why its inclusion is so alarming. Prices here have quietly risen faster than wages in recent years, pushing the debt-to-income ratio to precarious levels. The city is now facing a hidden vulnerability, where a smaller initial mortgage balance increase can still represent an insurmountable percentage increase for households already budgeting on the edge. This quiet distress makes Winnipeg a dark horse in the foreclosure forecast. These first 3 cities show us that this isn't just an Ontario, BC problem. It's a national time bomb. We continue our descent into the highest risk areas. The next 3 cities are defined by massive sprawl and reliance on speculative investing, factors that amplify the 2026 renewal shock. At number 7, Hamilton, Ontario. Hamilton was the quintessential commuter town boom. Investors and remote workers priced out of Toronto drove a speculative frenzy, pushing prices to dizzying heights. Now these homeowners are facing a triple threat: higher mortgage payments, the ongoing high cost of living, and for commuters, expensive travel back to Toronto. This financial vice leaves many families running out of cash reserves, forcing the tough decision to sell. Hamilton's steep price appreciation makes it one of the most likely Ontario areas to see aggressive price corrections driven by inventory flood. Just behind it, at number 6, is Edmonton, Alberta. While Calgary's risk is more consumer-driven, Edmonton's threat is heavily concentrated in the investor market, particularly multi-unit and condo properties. Many investors leverage themselves aggressively during the low-rate period, relying on low monthly payments to cash flow rentals. When those mortgages renew, the rental income will often fail to cover the massive new mortgage costs, leading to a wave of institutional and individual forced sales as investors exit underwater properties. Our countdown brings us to the British Columbia interior at number 5, Kelowna, British Columbia. Kelowna is a luxury and resort-adjacent market that bought heavily into the variable rate mortgage trap. Analysts point to this area as one where borrowers were among the most aggressive in choosing variable rates to save money initially. Now, many of these variable rate victims have reached their trigger rate and are facing severe negative amortization, meaning they are paying interest without even reducing their principal. This profound financial stress makes Kelowna a flashpoint for foreclosures, predicted to see the fastest initial spike in for-selling. The pressure cooker is now at maximum. We are in the top 4, representing the biggest debt loads and the highest concentration of financial vulnerability in the country. At number 4, Surrey, British Columbia. Surrey is part of the broader Fraser Valley, which saw some of the most frantic bidding wars and fastest price appreciation during the pandemic peak. The debt levels taken on by families here are staggering, and the economic buffer is thin. These homeowners face a crushing negative equity risk, meaning if the market drops even 15 or 20% upon their renewal, they will owe more than their house is worth. This situation often forces a sale, regardless of the loss, simply to stop the spiraling debt. Moving to the nation's capital, number 3 is Ottawa, Ontario. Similar to Hamilton, Ottawa saw prices surge far beyond local wage growth. Its high-priced condo market is a particular area of concern, heavily dominated by both local and international investors who are sensitive to interest rate hikes. The combination of high property taxes and a massive mortgage renewal shock in 2026 is expected to severely reduce demand and increase inventory, tipping the market sharply toward forced sales among both homeowners and speculative landlords. And now, the financial colossus at number 2, Vancouver, British Columbia. Vancouver's risk is defined by the sheer magnitude of the debt. The city has the highest average mortgage balances in Canada. This means that even if a small fraction of homeowners default, the total financial volume of the foreclosures is devastating. The high debt-to-income ratios here mean there's virtually zero margin for error. The payment shock upon renewal will be in the tens of thousands of dollars per year for many households, guaranteeing that Vancouver will be a primary focus of banking efforts to liquidate assets and mitigate losses. We have arrived at the epicenter. The one city facing the most severe and impactful risk of a foreclosure bloodbath in 2026 is, sadly but certainly, Toronto, Ontario. Toronto is the ultimate mortgage time bomb, not just due to high prices, but because of the highest sheer volume of both variable and fixed-rate mortgage debt in the entire country. The city is the single largest concentration of Canada's financial vulnerability. Delinquency rates in the Greater Toronto Area's condo market are already signaling stress, driven by overstretched young families and speculative investors who are banking on perpetual low rates. A massive number of 5-year terms from 2021 are scheduled to mature here in 2026, creating a supply wave that will overwhelm the market. When these homeowners face rates potentially 3 times higher than their original rate, many will simply hand the keys back to the bank. The volume of these forced sales in Toronto is expected to be so large that it will have a disproportionate effect on national average prices and the overall stability of the banking system. For lenders, for investors, and for homeowners across the country, all eyes are fixed on the Toronto market, the city that will define the severity of Canada's housing crisis in 2026. So, there you have it, the top 10 Canadian cities facing the most severe mortgage renewal shock in 2026. Whether you are in Toronto, Kelowna, or Halifax, the reality is the same. The banks are preparing for the worst, and forced sales will happen. The key takeaway from this countdown is that this crisis is no longer a distant threat. It is a mathematical certainty for millions of Canadians who bought at the peak of the market. This isn't about fear, it's about financial sobriety. You have been warned, and now you have time to prepare. The biggest danger is inaction. If your mortgage is up for renewal in 2025 or 2026, you cannot wait for rates to magically fall. You must stress test your household budget today against a 6% or 7% interest rate. Consider all your options. increasing amortization, negotiating an early renewal, or finding a stable secondary income stream. Don't let the headlines panic you. Let them prepare you. Knowledge is your most powerful tool right now. If you want a detailed, step-by-step guide on the 3 critical financial moves every Canadian homeowner must make today to avoid the 2026 crisis, drop a comment with the word renewal. We will send you the breakdown immediately. Click the link in the description for a detailed analysis of the mortgage renewal shock in your city. Thanks for watching.